ठीक है, you are investing in your money, but my question is, how do you invest in yourself?
So, Kanish, that's a great question. You can invest in yourself in a variety of ways.
Okay.
Some of the things that have worked for me is that every few years I find myself going back to pick up some sort of upskilling or education programs. Do not follow anyone's set pattern.
Okay.
Because your life goals and your investment goals are yours.
Okay.
There is no point trying to replicate what someone is saying. After traversing 24 years, I don't mind sharing my first salary.
Okay.
And again, no sad story behind that कि बड़े छोटे में शुरू किया and all. I mean, whatever was market bearing was market bearing. The salary was a huge compensation of 3,000 rupees a month.
How do you manage your work-life balance? कि काम भी है और golf भी और family भी.
So I'm not a golf enthusiast. I'd love to play that, but I was still in the woods half the time. So no talks over there.
So thank you so much Jaideep sir for doing this for us and welcome to our show #मेरी इन्वेस्टमेंट स्टोरी। और जैसा कि आपको पता ही है कि हमारे शो का कॉन्सेप्ट बहुत सिंपल है, हम आपसे कुछ 5 से 6 सवाल पूछेंगे and then we'll ended up playing a quick rapid fire round. So I hope you are excited about it.
Absolutely. Kanish, thank you so much for inviting me over.
Thank you so much sir. So starting off with my very first question, it's about your background. So as per our research जो हमने किए, जो कि हमारी बहुत बड़ी टीम है एक इंसान की वो करती है, so we got to know that you have 24 plus years of experience in developing and leading businesses across, various industries, be it digital, be it AI. And plus we also know that you have managed a multi-billion-dollar businesses portfolio, which have generated like great impacts for over 500 plus clients. So why don't you take us through this journey कि ये यहाँ से शुरू हुई और आज यहाँ टीम लिस्ट पे ऐसे खड़ी है?
Sure. Thank you. So I started my journey with Aptech. This was right after my graduation. I did my majors in taxation. And after I was spending a few years with Aptech, I moved to Datamatics, which is where I pursued my master's in marketing as well. And that's where your founder and I, we come from the same alumni.
Okay.
After spending a few years with Datamatics and finishing my master's in international marketing, I got an opportunity to work with a company called Zensar Technologies. Spent close to 8 years with them, moved across UK, US, came back to India in 2012 to take up an assignment with Thomson Reuters, and spent close to 5 years with them. After that, I did a couple of years of angel investing with a fund called 5F World. And for about 3 years, I led a legal tech firm. And after finishing those transactions, I got an opportunity to work with Teamlease to help build a business vertical within Teamlease EdTech. That's the journey, Kanishk.
I mean, that's really such a big journey. How many countries have you left till now?
So got an opportunity to live in UK and the US.
Okay, and India, obviously.
Of course. So Janmabhoomi or Karmabhoomi.
I mean, that's really great. But इसके साथ ही like my next question is, it's a little interesting one for me because you have such huge experience. So I would want to know whether you remember it or not. What was your first ever salary and what did you do with it? Did you spend it or you saved a little or invested a little?
So, I mean, after traversing 24 years, I don't mind sharing my first salary.
Okay.
And again, no sad story behind that कि बड़े छोटे में शुरू किया and all. I mean, whatever was market bearing was market bearing. The salary was a huge compensation of 3,000 rupees a month.
That's huge. I mean, genuinely, that's huge. I know it.
And the investment actually started even before that. I mean, coming from a family with high values of continuously trying to save and save. those 3,000 rupees a month were already pre-allocated in terms of where is it going to go.
Okay.
So after deducting of all the expenses and all, that money was already parked in a bank fixed deposit and all.
Okay.
So that's what the first journey started with.
Okay, great. So moving on to my next question, since you are now into the edtech space, and there's a lot of financial literacy that happens around, because people want to learn about how to manage their money, but still there's a big myth that they make losses or they're not able to actually do it. So we want to know about you. How did you learn about managing your money, and were there any mistakes you did in that?
So see, managing money for our generation comes inherent.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at the three generations that are living in India today, there is one generation that started their careers before 1991.
Correct.
I mean, that generation grew up in a time of great tight economies. A lot of things were constrained. There was no social security per se. We still don't have social security. So their objective was to continuously squirrel money away for the rainy day.
Correct.
And we grew up in that era. But when we started our careers post 1990, we saw the economic boom.
Right.
So money started flowing in. But the whole idea of squirreling money away was ingrained in you as a child. So that's the first thing. After a few years of working, when I kind of first started realizing that, hey, there is more to investment than just putting money in a fixed deposit or a government scheme and so on, that's where I started putting money in the stock market. So that was my first independent investment. And I will have quite a few takeaways for the audience. So the first takeaway is, do not hesitate to break the status quo. I mean, if for some reason your financial literacy was a hand-me-down, that does not mean you cannot expand your own horizons. So investing in the stock market came through self-learning and all of that. It was a very small investment of a few thousand rupees. Got to open the Demat account, bank account along with that.
This was year?
2002.
Okay.
And this was after a few years of my career. I still followed the same pattern that average household would follow, put money away in fixed deposits and government bonds. So that was my first step outside of the trained boundaries. And I only started expanding that quotient. Obviously, the second biggest thing of the people from our generation know is to put money in insurance schemes and start adding money to that. That was the second self-education I did. I kind of understood that term life policies are far better than the endowment policies.
True.
And therefore, to the much dissatisfaction of our generational insurance advisor, we stopped buying the endowment policies and only purchased term policies.
Correct.
So that additional money went to the stock market. The second takeaway would be that do not consider trading as an investment.
Okay.
I mean, in the Bombay colloquial language, bech khareed is not investment. You don't buy stocks to sell. You don't treat stocks as a commodity. You just buy because of the inherent value and hold on to it. Of course, you reevaluate your portfolio once every while, depending on how you want to take it. And you may want to readjust the portfolio, but all of that wisdom comes subsequent. So you need to kind of have the network and pick up information. And the fundamentals of investing remain the same. So they haven't quite changed in years now.
Okay. So like this is a very big takeaway, I would say, where you said trading is not investing. So that's something I really learned right now.
Right. Subsequently, as more income came in and we had opportunities to look at other asset classes, started widening the horizons into mutual funds.
Okay.
Looked at bullion as well, which was another traditional asset, but not necessarily in the form that it is kind of used as jewelry or something, but just kind of invest something in bullion. One of the things I still haven't done is digital form of bullion.
Okay.
So that's something I've not done.
Yeah.
But over a period of time, as the opportunity kind of came across, I've got a little bit of investments in art. In, of course, real estate is there. There is some in the crypto space, but not in Bitcoin. It is in the underlying companies who develop the Bitcoin infrastructure or the crypto infrastructure. Excuse me. And also in other form of asset classes outside of equity, mutual funds and all of that. The third key takeaway that I would like to do is be open to experiments, but not that you start to readjust your portfolio in such a manner, Kanish, that because Bitcoins or cryptocurrency was a fad, you kind of shift everything. Play and see how the experiments kind of pan out, and then you kind of rebalance your portfolios. Thankfully, for some reason, the whole cryptocurrency didn't kind of appeal to the general logic, and therefore I didn't make any investments in that space at all. But in the underlying technology space, sure. And plus, there are some startups that where I play kind of an angel investor.
Okay.
But that's about it.
So when you were talking about your finances, when you were giving those, key takeaways, after investing into the market, into different financial instruments for so long, what do you think are 2 or 3 of the best financial instruments that people should actually invest in? कि पैसा डाला और भूल गए.
Okay, so before you do that, I'll come to my fourth takeaway. Do not follow anyone's set pattern.
Okay.
Because your life goals and your investment goals are yours.
Okay.
There is no point trying to replicate what someone is saying. So what worked for me may work for you, may not work for you. The whole idea is you understand what is your risk appetite, what is your investment goal, and what are your life goals.
Okay.
Based on that, you will develop a pattern. So for example, if you have an immediate life goal coming up, you may not want to put money in a risky instrument. You may want to put it in a safe instrument because you need the bankability of that. Or, for example, your goals are such that you may need to draw on the cash anytime. You may not want to put it in real estate because the transaction kind of takes time. So you may want to put it in more cashable things like equity or mutual funds and so on, where you have that. Also, depending on your other goals, you may want to have a mix of government securities and equity and so on and so forth. So you have to balance it out. So no formula is a formula that you have to pick and adapt and like just copy it. But to answer your question specifically, risk and reward ratio is always constant.
Yeah.
Higher the risk, higher the rewards. And we've seen that through what happened to the Bitcoin space or the cryptocurrency space. We see that in the equity space. But one thing that's happening is the economic cycles are going through a very rapid up and down. They are no longer steady for years and decades. They're like literally flipping every few years. And macro incidents, macro events are also kind of affecting domestic markets. So you need to be watchful of that.
Okay.
But I hope I answered that question. So there is no formula to share per se.
Okay, great. Moving on to my next question from here. Let's talk a little about you. We got to know that you love playing golf. You're a big golf enthusiastic. So, and because we are into this corporate world and there are so many young people who, thrive for work-life balance, how do you manage your work-life balance? कि काम भी है और golf भी और family भी.
So I'm not a golf enthusiast. I love to play that, but I'm still in the woods half the time. So no tall cliffs over there. I picked up that sport primarily to network with clients. But it gives you a good joy. I'm primarily a swimmer, although I don't have the body or the fitness to kind of pursue that sport anymore. And on work-life balance, it's very, very personal.
Correct.
Work will give you the professional rewards that you're looking for, and life will give you the personal rewards that you're looking for. you have to decide what's your balance. Do not try and copy anyone by saying that, hey, I want a 9 to 5 life, or I'm going to work 16 hours, I'm going to work 80 hours a week. It's purely up to you. You decide the rewards at the workplace that you want to enjoy and the rewards at the life that you want to enjoy, and then pick what is the balance you want. It is not the responsibility of the organization or anyone else's responsibility. It's purely your call. So, Kanish, you have to choose.
Correct. Awesome. Malab, this was one of the greatest answers when it comes to work-life balance that I have heard ever personally. So, I have another question for you, which is, okay, you are investing in your money, but my question is, how do you invest in yourself?
So, Kanish, that's a great question. You can invest in yourself in a variety of ways.
Okay.
Some of the things that have worked for me is that every few years I find myself going back to pick up some sort of upskilling or education programs. So after my graduation, I kind of picked up a skill development program from Aptech in computers, networking space. And that's where I got my first job opening.
Okay.
A few years into that, like I mentioned, while I was with Datamatics, I decided to pursue my master's in marketing. A few years after that, while I was with Zensar in the US, I was in the Bay Area, and the temptation to not go to Stanford was very high, and I kind of did my executive program from there. So very expensive investment, but completely worth it.
Okay.
It not only gave me a different perspective on my professional life, but also helped me achieve a lot of things on the personal side as well. So apart from going back to schools over and over again, you should also pick up some form of reading. I'm not saying business books is the best way. You can do reports, you can do TED Talks. I mean, you can listen as well. It's not just purely listening. So you can learn from your own experiences. But the biggest learning and the free learning comes from others' experiences. And others have taken the effort to put it in books, put it in TED Talks, articulate it in different manner. Might as well pick it up. It's available free of cost.
Correct.
So that's how you kind of stay in touch with what the current trends are and continuously upskill yourself.
So that is why I'm not surprised now. The moment I entered his room, I could see newspaper lying and he was reading it. So thank you so much for this learning. Reading is one of the greatest way to learn, and not just reading, it's also listening.
Yeah, whatever works for you.
Correct. Great. So moving on to my very last question to you, and this is more towards, your finances, which is again, since you have been investing so long in market, are there any losses which you actually made and then you realized that, yeah, this was the biggest mistake, and then you had a great learning, that one small learning that you want to give to our viewers, saying that I made this mistake, never do it again?
So the key takeaway that I mentioned, that trading is not investment, came through those tough learnings.
Okay.
You believe that you're investing and you think that, okay, 3 years is also investment horizon, 1 year is also an investment horizon, 6 months is and in your mind you suddenly start thinking, okay, 1 week is also investment horizon. Oh, no, it's not.
Okay.
No, it's not. So that's the biggest mistake. We all have full-time profession that is our primary source of income and wealth creation. Let's respect that. Trading is also a full-time job.
True.
Leave it to the traders. That's what they do. That's their full-time job. That's not our job. So let's not try and mimic that. Of course, those lessons were learned very early, and therefore all trading hopes and aspirations have been nicely abandoned.
Okay, great. So this was one of the amazing answers that I have ever got to all my questions. And thank you so much for doing this with us. But we will not let you go like this. We are going to play a small rapid fire round with you, which we call as Wealthy Summer Clock. So I have 5 questions for you and you have to answer it very quickly. And your first question is, what would you name your autobiography?
Too soon to call out an autobiography.
Okay.
But if I have to do it right now, The title would be Picture Abhi Baki Hai Mere Dost.
Wow. So are you a Shah Rukh fan too? No. Okay.
Just a Bollywood fan.
Okay.
No offense to Shah Rukh.
Cool. Second question is, would you rather be the smartest person in the world or richest person in the world?
Smartest.
Then you can turn rich anytime.
Great.
Would you rather choose brand growth or profitability?
Profitability. That is a real way to do business.
Okay. At what age did you earn your first penny or money?
So this was when I was still in college.
Okay.
I think
The undergraduate.
undergraduate part. I would have been still about 18, 19 years old. I got invited to host a show, and that was my first professional earning.
Okay.
I think I earned 101 rupees after a 3-hour show.
Oh, great. Thoda kam mila. My last question to you. It's Mumbai based. So, Mumbai ki barish ya Mumbai ka vada pav?
Don't
Dono. Well, this was one of the most amazing rapid fires, which I have ever had. And thank you once again, sir, for being here in our show. And it was such a delight to learn from you. I've not just learned one thing, but I've got 5 to 6 key takeaways that I'm going to take home today. And I'm sure our viewers will also.
Thank you again.